Take your mind into the wonderful world of physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kennetic Hour. Conversations with you and guests. With your host, Kennon, Wesley, Mason. That's me. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for choosing the Kennetic Hour. In this episode, I want to talk just about my background. Since this is a new broadcast, or since this show is a new broadcast, the Kennetic Hour, I just want to start out just giving the audience, giving you a summary of who I am and why I'm bringing the Kennetic Hour to all of you, because the Kennetic Hour is about conversations with you and guests. And if I don't have a guest on each episode, which that will not happen, the purpose of this show is to not only have guests, but also to talk to you, those that are on all platforms, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. There are many people on these platforms that are doing great things, whether it be in health or technology or just lifestyle. And I want to have dialogue with you and with anyone and everyone that has something of substance to bring to the table, and have fun with it. You know, I mean, the Kennetic Hour isn't about being so stiff and rigid just because of the topic or subject matter at hand, whatever it might be. The purpose of the Kennetic Hour is to not only enlighten, but to have fun in the enlightenment, and to feel good in the enlightenment, and enjoy, and still get something out of the conversation. Whether it's with a guest or whether it's just like what I'm doing now. It's just me here speaking to you. So the purpose of this is to just talk about my background, so you know who I am, not only as a person, but as a human being and as a spirit being, and why all dialogue and all conversations should be open for discussion. Oftentimes, so many topics are swept under the rug for fear that someone or a number of people may take offense to the words being spoken, which is fine. Not everyone is going to disagree or agree with everything that I say on this broadcast, or on any broadcast, whether I'm the host or whether I'm the one being interviewed. The purpose is to give you information to consider. That's the whole purpose of the Kennetic Hour, to give you information that you can consider on whatever the subject matter is. And that way you can do your own due diligence post-broadcast. Because I always tell people to don't take my words at face value. You can take them that way, but also go the extra mile and look for yourself. All things are out there for all of us to discover. For those that wish to discover certain truths about life and life's operation, it's out there. It's out there. Much of it is out there for free. some information, some more in-depth information, you may have to dig a little deeper. You may have to even spend money for the information, because information costs, depending on the information you are attempting to access for yourself. Because information is that valuable. Information is power, not knowledge, because knowledge is only power when you use it. And information is only power or powerful when you use it. Knowledge is only powerful when it's used. Knowledge can't be powerful just on its own, just sitting there. Knowledge is waiting for all of us to apply it, so we can all be successful to varying degrees. So that's what the Kennetic Hour is about. It's about all of us taking something from the broadcast and possibly learning from it, or doing something for yourself that can make yourself better. Or at least, or at the very least, something that you can consider. At the very least, just consider the suggestion, whether it's by me or by whoever I have on as a guest. In the past, having been the co-host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show. Well, first, let me back up. Let me back up and go back to the beginning. I first started my holistic career, or my career in holistics, in 2002, and it's been a journey. As we speak, we're talking 2 decades now as I'm recording this right now. I started in 2002, and it's funny how I even got into it. I was at home. I had just gotten let go from a job that I had delivering water. I was doing water delivery in 2001, and I was let go for not bringing enough revenue into the company with the route that was given to me, which is a whole nother subject that I may get into on another episode, because that all kind of helped to play into why things happened the way that it did at that time. But nonetheless, life moved forward, and in the meantime, while I was collecting unemployment, while I was looking for other work, I just happened to see a commercial. They don't show too many of these type of commercials now, but at the time they were career college commercials, or advertisements for career colleges, medical assisting and things of this nature, things that are in the medical field, medical billing, medical assistance, things of this nature. Well, I saw one that had a course for massage therapy. So that sounded very interesting to me because it was something different. It was something different. And I signed up for the class, and at that time I applied for a student loan, which again, that's another subject. The federal student loan at that time, had I known at that time the value of possibly financing this type of schooling in a different way, I would have done so. But nonetheless, again, I enrolled in what was actually called Harbor Medical College in Torrance, California. It was called Harbor Medical College when I first started in March of 2002. That's when I started my 9-month course in the field of massage therapy. And in doing so, it was the beginning and the stepping stones for me to do what I'm doing now. I learned so much, and I want to thank. Actually, one day I'm going to see if I can have him on the show. My massage therapy teacher, who I learned so much from, Timothy Zimbeck, who actually went on to be one of the heads over at. Oh gosh! After Bryman, I think Bryman changed their name. Or it was Harbor Medical College, and then the name changed to Bryman Career College. After I graduated, the name changed again to Everest Career College. And I think Timothy was one of the administrators there, if I'm not mistaken. He went from being a teacher and instructor to being one of the administrators. And I've always, after all this time, I've always been academically indebted to him, because he was the one that started me on my health journey, or natural health journey. My teacher was a Reiki, or is a Reiki master teacher. So part of the curriculum in my massage therapy course was Reiki degree number 1, the first degree of Reiki. The ancient Usui practices. And so that in itself opened my eyes to energy, or the realness of energy, and how it can be transferred from one human being to another. Because I felt it. I mean, talk specifically from the hands. Energy can be transferred from one person to another through the hands. This has been proven over and over and over again. But this specific time in 2002 was the first time that I experienced energy, the feeling or the surge or the buzz of energy being transferred from one person to another. And you can truly feel it, which is an indicator that there are people that have different vibrations, or their vibration or their being is vibrating at a totally different frequency than the students. And now I understand more about how that works as far as energy being transferred, and why practices such as Reiki have worked for many people all over the world. It's an energy practice. And many people have healed themselves of various ailments or illness conditions through the practice of Reiki, or through the healing of a Reiki practitioner. So I got to experience how powerful Reiki is, which translates into universal life force energy. Reiki. One of the other teachers there, actually, the teacher that was next door to us, he taught something that was new to me as well, something called Tai Chi. It's a practice of movement. Some people can use it or identify it as a martial art, ancient martial art. And because of the movements, allowing energy to flow more freely inside the body based on movements, the opening of energy channels. And so I got to experience how energy can be transferred, because energy knows nothing about space and time. Energy knows nothing about space and time. Energy can be anywhere at any given time. Energy can be transferred instantaneously. The moment you think of something, it has traveled to its destination simultaneously. That's how quickly thoughts travel. And over time, I learned these truths about life and about energy. So I went through this course of massage therapy that really opened me up to the basics of the human body, how the human body functions on the inside and out, and also learning different nuances of the human body and how everything is connected. Everything in the body is connected. And which is why over the years I've learned that when individuals have the suggestion brought to them to have certain body parts removed because standard allopathic medicine has run out of solutions or run out of answers, because typically they will tell the individual that there's nothing else that we can do. That's what we hear quite often. There's nothing else that we can do. And because of the conditioning that we've been under for generations, the conditioning being that we've been fed the notion that our bodies are too weak to heal themselves once they come under the condition of illness. That's what the notion has been for us, that the human body is too weak and fragile to heal itself of any given illness, whatever it may be, because this is what we're told by the standard medical establishment, that the human body is incapable of healing anything, or they don't have a cure for your condition, because this is the conditioning that we've been force-fed for at least the last 4 to 5 generations, that there is no cure for anything. That's what we hear. When we hear a condition on television, there is no known cure. They won't even tell you what the cause is, because again, we live in a cause and effect world. We live in a world of cause and effect. Everything that you do to yourself has an effect on you. Everything. Everything that you do, everything that you eat, everything that you drink, everything that you read, everything that you touch, everything that you've ever experienced, all of it is stored in your brain, in your memories. All of it. And so these are the things that I learned. This is the information that I learned over the years. And so I graduated from Bryman Career College in January of 2003. And I started my very first job in massage therapy at a day spa called the Day Away Spa, also in Torrance, California. And that's where I've got my first start in the practice of massage therapy professionally, because I received my certification. But being influenced by my teacher, I wanted to go even further, because he was nationally certified as a massage therapy practitioner, nationally certified through the National Certification Board of Therapeutic Massage and Bodywork. And so I studied all of 2003, and all of 2003 I studied to take that test. And I believe I took the test the first time I took the test, I did not pass. The test was a pass or fail, and the test was a pretty lengthy one too. And it really woke me up to how much more I needed to learn, and how much more I needed to know, and how much more I wanted to know, because I wanted to learn. And not passing that national certification test the first go around, it lit a fire inside of me, and I studied on subjects that were just kind of introduced in my massage therapy course, because remember, it was only 9 months. And so we would only go into great depth with some anatomical subjects, but not all. And so I would have to go more in depth on certain subjects. For example, the one subject that I really went into was the chakra system. The chakra system being the wheels of energy that all of us have. All of us have channels of energy, or vortexes of energy, that are that run up and down the body. And these are the vortexes where energy flows through. And we know the 7 major chakras that most people speak of. There are many more, but the 7 that we typically know of are from bottom to top. The root chakra, you have the root chakra, and then you have the chakra for reproductive, root chakra. Then you have the reproductive chakra, which is kind of like an orangish color. Then you have the solar plexus chakra, and then you have the heart chakra, which is my favorite color, the color of green. The color of the grass, the color of the leaves of the trees in the spring. Green, the heart chakra. And then you move on up to the throat chakra, and then you have the, some people call it the third eye. I call it the first eye, because it's the eye that sees everything before you do. It's the eye that's connected to your solar plexus. It sees everything. It's like a clairvoyant. Your first eye, or what we call the pineal gland. The pineal gland, which kind of sits in the center of the brain, right in the center. And when you magnify the pineal gland, if you magnify it enough, it literally looks like something that's in outer space. It literally looks like a planet hovering between a vortex, a circular vortex, or a ring, so to speak, almost like the planet Saturn. And this is the pineal gland. It's shaped like a pine cone, and it takes on the look of a pine cone. It's a little tiny little gland. It's about the size of a pea. And then you have your crown chakra. The crown chakra, which is equivalent to what we would call the mind, the invisible part of you, the crown chakra. All the invisible space that we have on top of our skull. Dr. Roger Callahan called it the thought field, which is why he came up with the practice called thought field therapy, which we call the tapping technique. Some people know it as emotional freedom technique, which was started by Gary Craig, who was a student of Dr. Roger Callahan. Actually, I think he was Roger Callahan's top student, which is why he went off to do other things. He went off to do a variation of thought field therapy, which he called emotional freedom technique. But I always practice the original version through the practices and the teachings of Dr. Roger Callahan, because he's the one that created this specific method of clearing certain energy channels, or all of them, if needed, because many of us have stuck or trapped energy, stuck or trapped negative energy, based on our negative emotions, certain things that were told to us, what we call different postulates, and different notions that have been fed to us over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, day after day, year after year, certain messages or words or phrases have been told to us over and over again, and because the brain doesn't know anything about truth or lie, it takes everything at face value and accepts it. And again, these are the things that I was taught over the years during my time being in massage therapy. So once I learned the Reiki, once I learned the system of Reiki, or the practice of Reiki, and then learned more, or went more in depth into the chakra system, and then learned more in depth about just the basics of the blood, the lungs, just standard basic things about massage and body work, and how we can all take care of ourselves, self-care, or learning the ways of self-care through massage therapy, or what we call touch therapy, hands-on touch therapy. In the case of Reiki does not have to be a touch therapy. Reiki can have the hands hovering over the body. There doesn't have to be actual physical contact. But with massage therapy, almost similar to physical therapy, because physical therapists do certain massage techniques in their practice as well. And so I learned all of these different modalities, and I also learned electronic muscle stimulation as well, using electric current to stimulate muscle movement for healing, because a lot of physical therapists use what we call EMS, electronic muscle stimulation, for healing. I mean, the body runs off of electricity. Our bodies are electric. Our bodies are electric and magnetic, both. We're electromagnetic. Or you can go a little deeper and say that we are magnetoelectric, because we're more on the magnetism side. We magnetize, or we are the magnets. We become magnets based on our thoughts and feelings and our emotions. We become magnets. We draw things to us, or what we call attract things to us, which is why it's called the law of attraction. The law of attraction. And so, again, I learned all of these within this time period of 2002 to 2003. A great learning curve for me to not only learn about health, but also apply it to myself, because at that time I was still experiencing mild symptoms of asthma, and still eating the standard diet, still eating fast food quite frequently, not necessarily drinking as much soda. I did start to slow down with that. But learning more about the body, I started learning about diet by default, or dietary habits, and learning about all the food that I was eating and how it affects the body. So in learning that, I decided to take the national certification test again. I took it 6 months after my initial my initial attempt to pass. So I did 6 months of extra study and made sure that I was prepared to take the test again. So I went to the facility and sat down, put those headphones on, and I took that test, which took about maybe 3 hours. But it was wonderful, because once they showed me and I saw the word pass, yeah, oh, that you can't explain the feeling that I had at that specific time, because that was an accomplishment for me, being nationally certified as a massage therapist, meaning that I have the credibility of being a professional body worker versus what the backlash or the underbelly of massage therapy has been when people use the label masseuse, which is a term that I never use to refer to myself and my professionalism as a massage therapist. I've never used that term, masseuse. But many people still use that term to this day, no matter what credentials the therapist may have, because our society is very used to this terminology when it comes to massage. Most lay people never use the term massage therapy. They use the word masseuse. Well, I've never been a masseuse. I worked and studied a little too hard to just have that label. And I take my professionalism professionally and seriously. So I've always taken my national certification seriously, and I've had it and honored it proudly. And I had that certification for 8 years, from 2004 to 2012. And it was a great run, because I learned a lot, and because I was nationally certified, I was looked upon in a more professional manner, which means that I had the respect level as being a professional body worker. And I did it for a long time. I worked at many day spas over the years, from 2003 until 2016, actually, off and on, worked at different places. In 2016, I worked for a chiropractor. In 2016, it was actually the last facility that I worked as far as being in this field of body work. And so I was able to be in a totally different environment. It was the first time that I was worked in a more medical atmosphere, because I worked under a couple of chiropractors that I had high respect for, still to this day. Dr. Uchenna Abba Oniani. His name is Dr. O. That's what we call him, Dr. O. I worked with him when he had his practice in Gardena, California, coming from New Jersey, and things didn't quite pan out the way that he wanted them to. So he went back to Jersey with where his original practice is. But I'm glad that I got the opportunity to work with him and work in that environment. And it inspired me. It inspired me to want to further my business, because by that time I had Kennetic Fit and Wellness. Kennetic Fit and Wellness started in 2014 officially. And I knew that I wanted to take everything that I knew from 2002 all the way up to 2014. Everything that I knew about health matters, everything that I knew about the human body, everything that I knew up into that time about electronic muscle stimulation everything that I understood at that time about cancer, diabetes, heart disease, because there are three things that really gives me the motivation to keep doing this at this level. One is that my brother was diagnosed with osteogenic sarcoma, where they had to literally carve out a 3-inch chunk of his shin bone to remove the cancer that had leached or latched itself onto his bone. Osteosarcoma at 15 years of age. So when a teenager or an adolescent is diagnosed with a illness which could turn into a terminal illness, that can be psychologically devastating to the adolescent, because in adolescence we are just learning how to appropriate our emotions. And so when we're given this type of news, it can be a rough pill to swallow for any 15-year-old or 14-year-old or anyone at the adolescent level. I mean, this was difficult news for all of us. And I always say this, had I known what I know now about cancer, there's no way that my brother would have gone through all those rounds of chemical therapy, or what we know as chemotherapy, because I saw firsthand, and we're talking about the mid-1990s. We're talking 1995, 1996, when he was diagnosed and went through his, quote, treatments, or so-called treatments, which caused more harm to him physically and psychologically than it did healing him, which I'll go more in depth into that story on another broadcast, because I'm very passionate about the diagnosis of cancer, no matter what kind of cancer it is. In his case, it was osteosarcoma, but it doesn't matter if it's breast cancer, testicular cancer, uterine cancer, stomach cancer, pancreatic cancer, lung cancer, doesn't matter. Cancer can be healed, despite what we've been, despite the notions that we have been fed for generations. Because the moment someone has a cancer diagnosis, for most people, it's an automatic death wish. For most people, because of the conditioning. So that's why one reason why I'm passionate about natural health practices. Another reason is my mother was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 2006. And fibromyalgia is a nerve condition, or the medical term is muscle fiber pain. Fiber, myo, muscle, algia, pain. Muscle fiber pain. Fibromyalgia. And when the nerves are being compromised, then the muscles will be compromised, because the nervous system controls your muscle movement. That's why they call it motor skills, because your nerves, everything comes from your nervous system first. Everything comes from your brain, which is your central nervous system. Everything comes from the brain first and foremost. So when there's a diagnosis of fibromyalgia, now we have to ask the question, what is the cause? What caused the nervous system to go haywire? I mean, this is what we call autoimmune, where the body so-called attacks itself. No, it's not the body attacking itself. It's the body responding to something that we've done for so long. It doesn't know anything else to do. It's trying to heal you through inflammation, trying to rid itself. But because we don't understand how the human body functions, we think of tumors as being evil. We think of inflammation as being evil. And because of this, we keep taking medications to block the natural healing process. And this is why many people have 2, 3, and 4 separate conditions, taking 5, 6, and 7 medications. Because we don't know the basics of how our bodies function. And when we don't know how our bodies function, this is how we become susceptible to the allopathic medical standard of synthetic medication, with the notion that the magic pill will end all illness, physical and psychological. So my mom being diagnosed with fibromyalgia and learning exactly what fibromyalgia is, and physicians have no earthly clue how to heal this symptom, for me, that's pretty puzzling for me, that the physicians have no earthly clue after their time in medical school for 4 to 8 years, and they have no answers for fibromyalgia. It's just like they don't have a cure for the common cold. Or at least they claim that it's not. We see all types of over-the-counter drugs for the common cold and flu, because we haven't learned how to have an optimal immune system versus having an ill-infested immune system, or what we call AIDS, which is what AIDS is. It's just a malfunctioning immune system, or an immune system that's low on energy. That's pretty much what AIDS is, an acquired immune deficiency. And it's called a syndrome because it affects the entire body. The immune system, an immune deficiency, AIDS. And by definition, any illness can be identified as AIDS, because all we're talking about is an acquired immune deficiency. So if you've acquired an immune deficiency, this is something that you've more than likely done to yourself, based on your choices within your lifestyle. I mean, again, once we learn basics of our bodies, this is healing is inevitable. So fibromyalgia was another medical symptom or physical symptom that kept me going and kept my antennas up for better solutions, for healing, because the human body is a self-healing mechanism when allowed to work its magic within those mechanisms. The final condition, looking back now, was when my younger sister was in elementary school, and she was diagnosed. Well, she wasn't really diagnosed. She was, the message was relayed that my sister was having trouble paying attention in class, having certain verbal outbursts and things of this nature. And the majority of it stems from the time that was neglected from her, based on my brother's conditioning at the time, because she was younger, she was in elementary school, and she needed certain parental guidance that she just could not get at the time because my brother had a life-threatening condition. And of course, at the time, my sister didn't understand that. But the teachers and the school, and this was a private school, they wanted to do the best that they can to straighten out her behavior by suggesting that she take Ritalin, which is a quarter step away from cocaine. I mean, we all need to know that by now, that Ritalin is literally a half step away from cocaine. It's literally cocaine for children. Ritalin. And more children are being offered this drug that that sometimes don't even get parents' approval. I mean, some schools are literally giving these children these pills without parents' knowledge or consent, verbal or written consent. And this has become a problem because we know what cocaine does to the human adult or the human body, but we also know what Ritalin can do to the child body or the body of the adolescent. So these are the things that kept me wanting. These are the things that kept my thirst for wanting knowledge about the human body and just life itself. Why do these conditions get created? What is it about us that we're doing? Because we never want to take responsibility for our health conditions, for our mental conditions, for our emotional conditions, for our spiritual conditions. Many, if not most of us, never take 100% responsibility for our conditions, for our circumstances, for our life journey as it is right now as I'm speaking to you and as you're listening to this and viewing this right now. And these are the subjects, and these are the symptoms, the medical or health symptoms that still to this day keep me going for wanting to learn more. During this time, so we're talking about from 2002 on into 2016 with massage therapy. Now, in between that time, I got a few other certifications. One, because I was influenced by my teacher, I also became a Reiki master practitioner, going through the second and third degree studies through Judith Bilson, another Reiki master teacher. And this was in 2006. So I have those certifications as well. And then in 2010, I got a curriculum for a course in holistic psychology through Dr. Dolores Seymour, who's no longer with us, but I was one of the lucky ones that was able to take her course in holistic psychology. So I took 1 whole year to study the ins and outs of the human brain from a quantum physics position and learning more nuances of what we call the law of attraction, the law of causes and effects. Also at that same time, I became associated with a success club. Some people would equate it to a secret society, but it's a success club. It still exists today. And I became acquainted with how the brain works, specifically how the brain functions, not only from a position of physicality, nerve cells, nerve grooves within the brain, but also learning about the invisible of how our brains think from a quantum physics position, and learn the value of the mastermind as explained by Napoleon Hill in his almost all of his books, specifically Think and Grow Rich and The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. Having a dream, or creating a dream, having a dream and having a burning desire for its achievement. And because of learning all of this, we're talking from 2010 to 2011, I got my board certification as a holistic psychology practitioner. Now, having that certification, I didn't utilize it right away because I felt like I wanted to learn even more, especially with the organization that I was a part of, which kind of was, not even kind of, it was parallel. My board certification in holistic psychology is parallel, especially the book that I had to read, the two books that I had to read actually. One is called Who Cares Why, and the other is a tool book. It's a reading and tool book called Create Yourself, both authored by Dr. Dolores Seymour, PhD, PhD in psychology and a metaphysical science or metaphysical scientist. So she had her certification in metaphysics as well. So she was brilliant, and I did get a chance and the opportunity to speak with her on a couple of occasions, which I'm again grateful for. And the books that she had are no longer in print. I saw a copy of Create Yourself on eBay, but it was just that one. Both of those books are no longer in print, so I was one of the lucky ones to have that book. Actually, I just read it a few months back, and it's brilliant. It was an easy read, but in depth at the same time, because it just paralleled everything that I was learning in the organization I was with. It was kind of parallel because they both came to me at the same time. We're talking early 2010, the winter of 2010. That's when both of these opportunities came my way. Both. One through an infomercial and the other through a chance phone call, a random phone call that came my way. So I got an opportunity to go even further and elevate my consciousness by learning so much about the human brain, the human mind, and how they are different entities. They're not the same. The human mind and the human brain are two different buildings that function very differently. You can't have one without the other, but they have two totally different functions. And so these are the things that I've learned over the years. So now, having collected all of this information and still collecting, I'm still collecting information every day. I'm still reading more information, getting new information, brushing up on previous information. That way, my brain is always up to par with whatever is going on right now as we speak. So, creating Kennetic Fit and Wellness, gives me the opportunity to give back to anyone and everyone that's ready to make certain changes within their life journey. And so I've taken all of the physical training that I've learned throughout life, playing Pop Warner football, high school football, high school track and field, my time doing music production, because that's a part of my background too. Music production in college, music production here. The office where I am now filming this right now used to be my music studio, which it's always going to be a part of me, and I still use a lot of the music that I made and use it for this platform here. I also use music for my mom's platform with Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And also the music, the same music was used for Aim to Purpose, the radio show, which I co-hosted from 2014 to late 2016, which was a great experience. Another reason why I'm doing the Kennetic Hour now, because of my time doing Aim to Purpose, the radio show, which we met some wonderful people, got to interview wonderful people you may or may not know that we interviewed and learned from all topics, from health, entertainment, legal matters, domestic violence, more health matters, and just different topics. I mean, we've talked to so many people, authors from all over the world, healers from all over the world, practitioners from all over the world.